All right, so we'll start with public comments. Public comments may include any comments related to tonight's agenda. Commenters must state your name and whether you are a resident of the township or non-resident taxpayer in the township. If you do not identify yourself, your comments will not be included in the official minutes. So, any public comments?
Okay, my name is Nan Latimer. I am a resident of and a taxpayer of Franklin Township. Is that all you need? Right? Okay. I'd like to talk a little bit about what was discussed in the January meeting, and it's on the ordinances up for tonight, the PRO committee. And I watched the January meeting, so forgive me, I won't fill everybody in, but you guys know what was said. I'd like to say that I agree that the PRO committee is too diverse. To go from an Easter egg hunt to trails is kind of a stretch. So I agree with that. I question, quite frankly, just because when I was a supervisor, I'm sure that the level of work is not reduced, whether the staff really can handle managing a army of volunteers if you're so lucky to get those. So I'd just like to go on record for that. But really, the biggest thing is that this is what I'd like to recommend. I worked with the comprehensive plan, and I recommend that instead of, well, your lawyer will have to go through it, dissolving the PRO, that it be redefined. Because if you look at the comprehensive plan, especially if you just go down like the to-do list, that sort of thing, they do specify that PRO has certain duties to enact the comprehensive plan. And that I recommend that a trail and open space committee be formed to replace the PRO. And they don't do Easter egg hunts, and they don't do the kind of fun, fluffy stuff that was talked about at your meeting. And they specifically do concentrate on trails and those specific things that are in the comprehensive plan. So I would ask tonight that rather than you can talk about the ordinance or dissolution of PRO, that you take that into consideration and maybe delay it so everybody can take a chance and reread the comprehensive plan. I'm sure people don't have that committed to memory and see what I'm talking about. Specifically, there's chapters 3, 4, and 5. Which is a lot of it. It's open space, it's trails, something called green infrastructure. Maybe that's also open space, but you have to take a look. And so I guess in conclusion, I'd just like to say, does PRO just need to have a new charter rather than getting rid of it? Because in the comprehensive plan, they do call it PRO. And again, you guys, do you really want to manage an army of volunteers? Maybe one of the supervisors would like to take that over instead and then work with the staff because they're so busy. There you go. Because they're so busy, as you guys all know, and they do a great job. So that's it. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Okay, great. Thank you, Nan. I'm going to move on to approval of minutes. So I'm going to make a motion that the board approve the January 21st, 2026 Board of Supervisor meeting minutes. I have a second for that? Okay, Jim. So just as part of the discussion, Nancy called to our attention. She made some comments on the minutes that I'd like to share with the board to see if you were okay with it. In general, Stacy tries to keep these minutes high level because to do word by word, we actually did that at one time and it was like 20 pages long. It was insanity. But I agree that when the boards agree something, but there is someone who has a different thought or another thought comes through in that conversation, we should call it out. So Nancy, I think it's a good point. So if I can take you guys back to the meeting minutes. Look to the part that we talk about the PRO, and I'll start reading it to you, and then I'll add the verbiage that Nancy said she's okay with. So it starts off by saying Vice Chair Johnston opened the discussion on how the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Committee was currently functioning. He stated that the volunteer efforts associated with the committee would be more effectively managed by township staff. The board discussed the various projects the committee planned to accomplish during 2025 versus was completed and concluded that the committee should be dissolved. Supervisor Wittes commented that she did not want the dissolution of the PRO to dissuade volunteers that want to work. Her inclination is to let the PRO continue for another year and have the staff manage events. And then it moved on to say PRO Chair Heather Doss, so there was already there before. So Nancy's given her okay to that. Is the rest of the board okay with that addition to the meeting minutes? It is what she said. Okay, Jim, are you okay?
I'm okay, but I think the whole board said the same thing.
No, I didn't.
No,
I didn't concur.
yeah, she.
I'm new.
I'm sorry, wait.
Should I read it
I
again?
don't know where you're reading from.
Yeah, so.
I didn't see it
So
yet.
there's new words that I would put in here. These are the following new words. Santi Wittes commented that she did not want the dissolution of the PRO to dissuade volunteers that want to work. Everybody said that.
Everybody said that part. That's what I'm
Right,
saying.
right. But in addition to that, she said her inclination is to let the PRO continue for another year and have the staff manage events. She
That's
said,
what I said.
I'm good.
and then everything else went on.
I'm fine.
Yes, no, thank you. All right, we're good? Good, all right, so we'll take that. So now we'll vote with the change. This would be, I don't know if so this would be with the amended, we're going to be voting on the amended minutes as read. Okay, so all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. All right, so now we're going to move on to, where are we going? Okay, yeah, make it up.
Melissa's here to give the treasurer's report. Yeah, lost. Thanks.
The January 2026 Treasurer's Report includes the following disbursements. The general fund with disbursements and transfers of $127,265.42. The Park and Rec Fund with disbursements of $11,907.32. The Open Space Fund with disbursements of $122,079.90. The Capital Reserve Fund with disbursements of $0. The Emergency Services Fund with disbursements of $0. The Fire Hydrant Fund with disbursements of $580.80. And the Wastewater Treatment Plant Fund with disbursements of $0, leaving a balance in all funds $2,837,351.01.
Okay. Thank you, Melissa. I'll make a motion that the board approve the January 2026 Treasurer's Report as presented by Melissa Ortega. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Nancy. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd also mention that the Planning Commission did not meet this month, so there is no report.
Okay, I have the zoning report for January 2026. In the month of January 2026, 10 permits were issued, $7,342.50 in permit fees were collected, and 14 inspections were performed.
We're not.
We're going to have an update on the snowstorm from Mr. Eastburn.
Sure, happy to give it. Starting on January 24th and the 25th, we did receive a major storm. Depending on where you are in the township, whichever side, we received anywhere from 9 to 11 inches, and then probably 2 inches of ice on top of that, which lasted about 6 hours falling. So it was quite a challenging storm. We did get through it. We did have some compliments. So I think we did a decent job compared to PennDOT.
So Jeff, you're always so mild-mannered about this. You did a fantastic job. It was an incredible storm. There were some personal issues to deal with our public works folks, but you got through it, and I think we all really appreciate your efforts. Keep us safe.
Yes, I will say without a fact, Jim Durazio and his crew did a fantastic job, so I'm very appreciative of them.
Okay. Next, and an exciting new adventure and I'm happy to let Jeff take on this as well. And I'm very excited to say I want to be an integral part of this too.
All right, I'm up again. One item that I've been trying to develop is educational farming for Franklin Preserve. Before I go any further, I would like to introduce Dan Maloser, who's online from the Conservation District. And then to my left is Kenny Roberts. He's a local farmer and has done a lot of volunteer work for us in the past. But the idea is to take the open fields, which is approximately 26 acres, have our local farmer till that, nurture the soil, take the crop off, and this would help maintain and keep back the poison hemlock and the other invasives for that. So I've done a lot of homework. I've spoken with DCNR. I've spoken to National Park Service, Chester County Parks and Recreation. Dan Maloser has played a big part and has been very helpful. So the idea is to have this educational component of farming, which Kenny has agreed to help out with. The trails would remain where they are. We're not doing away with the trails. The trails stay in place. If a mistake happens and for some reason they get damaged during planting, Kenny, I have to put them back. I have all the confidence in the world in Kenny. So Kenny and I did meet with Dan Maloser of the Conservation District. He has done a Herculean effort in going out and meeting with us and actually writing a draft conservation plan for Franklin Preserve if the board so desires to move forward with this. The next step that we have to do if the board agrees tonight would be to allow Guy Donatelli and myself to work with Kenny Roberts on developing a lease agreement. There is some key language that we do need to put in there from DCNR, which I understand and makes sense to me. In a nutshell, it will be for 5 years. And then we will have the option to review the property with Kenny and or the Conservation District. And if there is a problem after the end of each year, we have the ability to cut it off, or Kenny may say, I'm retired, I'm not doing it anymore. So I wanted to give a chance for Dan Maloser to talk for a few minutes and then answer any questions that the Board of Supervisors may have. So, Dan, I will give you the ability to share your screen if you so desire.
Sure, if I'm able to do that, that would be great. First of all, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you, Jeff. You're very kind, as always, for the words you said. It was a pleasure working with Jeff and with Kenny to put this together. This is pretty straightforward and simple from my perspective, but I realize that not everyone looks at this every day. So please, if there's any questions, feel free to jump in at any point. You can interrupt me. It's okay. I don't mind. I'll start with, this is a conservation plan, or also known as an agricultural erosion and sediment control plan. The purpose of this plan, it accomplishes a couple things. The first is it's required by Pennsylvania regulations for any farm that is producing crops over 5,000 square feet. This type of plan is required. This plan also ensures that the property is maintained and can stay in agricultural production indefinitely as long as it's followed. So the purpose is to make sure that the soil is kept where it needs to be, to provide a good growing medium for the crops that are planned to be grown. Before I get into it, real quick, the objectives of the plan. This plan is written for the township. The plan is designed for what Mr. Roberts is currently planning to do. If that changes, that's okay. The plan can be updated to reflect any change that the township or Mr. Roberts may want to do, as long as everyone is agreeable to it. The plan can be updated to reflect what any changes going forward may be. The plan consists of 4 crop fields that are following the crop rotation that Mr. Roberts described to me. I also included an alternative crop rotation. Mr. Roberts also indicated that he may want to plant corn in the future, depending on commodity prices, which makes sense. That's pretty common. So I wrote 2 different options, and both options are valid and meet the standards for compliance with Pennsylvania regulation. Real quick, 3 more quick notes. Mushroom compost can be spread on the field. That's okay. To be used as a soil and nutrient addition to aid in crop production. There's a couple existing grass strips that are in place right now. Those should remain in grass, permanently vegetated, and not produce a crop. The reason for that is they're confluence areas where stormwater flows. Any kind of crop production may lead to gully erosion in those spots, so it's best just to leave them in permanent grass strips. And the last, I make note of what Jeff had mentioned, the property's multi-use with walking trails. Those are to be maintained as they are and are excluded from any farming activities. Now, a conservation plan has 3 parts that are required by Pennsylvania regulations. The first is what I'll actually go over last, which is what I'm scrolling down through now, which is a list of the different, what we call best management practices that are planned for the property, and then what we call an implementation schedule. So it'll show where this practice is going to be, how much of it is going to be planned, and when is it going to happen. And I'll go over this later, but I just want to mention it real quick. That's what this section is. The second section is the crux of it, which are Russell calculations. Bear with me as I scroll down through here. I'll go over this quickly, but like I said, please jump in if there's any questions, because this is the most complicated part. Can my screen flip around okay? Is it straight up and down now for you guys?
Yes.
Okay. So a Russell 2 calculation, this is a determination of the expected erosion that's going to be coming off of a crop field. I run one of these calculations for every field, and I did each field twice. Once to represent the plan rotation that Mr. Roberts is going with, and the second for the alternative rotation that includes corn. So I wanted to make sure that the erosion was going to be below what's called the tolerable limit for each field, no matter what rotation he goes with. So I won't go through the ins and outs of every single one of these, but I think it's important to just go over at least the first one to explain how it works, and then I'll kind of scroll down through the other ones quickly. So how this works, various factors about each field are input into the model. That's the soil type, the slope, how long the slopes are in the field. And what the program does is it spits out what's called a p-value. That's a tolerable amount of soil that can be lost out of a crop field, and it will remain viable to grow a crop indefinitely. So, for example, this is field 1. The T value is 5. So that means 5 tons of soil per acre can be lost every single year on that field. And through natural processes, dust floating in the wind, being deposited back on the field is going to maintain its soil composition to the point where it can continue to grow a crop. So that's the analogy I use is this is our speed limit. This is the number that we want to be below. If we go above that number, then we're losing too much soil and we're not going to be able to grow a crop. So the next part of this is I input what is the farmer actually going to do on the field. So what kind of crops is he growing? What type of equipment is he using to grow those crops, etc. And what it does is it spits out an expected soil loss. That's down here, and I mark it in green. Green, we're good. So what for this particular field, based on what Mr. Roberts plans to do, the expected soil loss is 2.98 tons per acre per year. So well below the 5 limit. So what this means in regards to Pennsylvania regulations, it means this field is in compliance as long as the plan is followed. So all good. I'll stop right right here real quick, just to make sure. Is there any questions about that? I know it's a little technical. Okay.
For Jeff or for Dan, what would you say was the value of the time that you put in to produce this expert report?
Well, the Conservation District, we do typically charge a fee when we're working with a farmer.
Right.
$500 base fee plus $10 per acre. So it's a 26-acre field. So yeah, like $760. I'm happy to do this for the municipality. Happy to do it for Jeff. I've worked with Jeff since I began at the Conservation District a long time ago. So I won't take the credit for this. I'm more than happy to help Jeff out.
Just wanted to say thank you from all of us. It's important work.
Of course, I'm happy to help. So like I said, I won't belabor the other field. The main point is that in each field, the expected soil loss is less than the T value. That's what we're looking for. That means that based on what Mr. Roberts plans to do on the field, it's in compliance with Pennsylvania regulation. Yeah, that's all the Russell calculations. That's the important part. The third part is the least important part is just maps. That's required, maps of the field showing where the fields are, where they're located, any practices. So on this map and on my, there we go. Now we're back up, straight up and down. It shows where the approximate location of the trails. A plan like this doesn't have a lot of physical features because there's not a lot of physical things being planned. Some farms that we do work on where we're actually excavating structures in a field like a grass waterway or a terrace system, or we're installing manure handling systems and things like that where we actually have to draw locations on a map of where those practices are going to be. This plan is really just an acknowledgement of where the different fields are on the property. So with that, we'll go back up to the top, the schedule of operations. So there's a few BMPs, best management practices, that are included in the plan. The first is an access road. That's an already established trailway. It's a road onto the property. The environmental benefit of that is that it's better to have an actual road for equipment to travel on than just bare ground that can be eroded away due to just traffic going over it. So that's a good thing. It's already installed. The next best management practice is the conservation crop rotation. So this is what Mr. Roberts plans to grow. It's an acknowledgement of that. The little narrative here below mentions the soil loss calculations based on Russell are included, and they show that the crop rotation allows for the erosion to be below the tolerable limit. Also, I should have mentioned with the access road, I know there was a question previous about why it's planned in a previous year. The reason that's important, I always choose to include practices that are already installed and to include that in a plan because it gives credit to Pennsylvania. Not as important where this field is, but in the Chesapeake Bay watershed where we do a lot of our work. All of those practices, if we can show that they're in and they're functioning, then Pennsylvania gets credit in the Chesapeake Bay model, which is very important for all sorts of different reasons. But I always want to acknowledge practices that are in that are still producing an environmental benefit. So that's why the planned year in the past is listed on here. Now, conservation crop rotation, that's a continuous practice that's going to happen every single year as a crop is planted. So here, it's what I have marked down as April of 2027. And it's 2027 because, and of course it's not in a good order for me. I'll skip down a little bit. The plan is for next year for hay to be established in the field, the forage and biomass planting. Hay will be established for 1 year to kind of prepare the soil, get it ready for crop production in 2027. So that's what the forage and biomass planting is. That's just an acknowledgement of the fields being in grass hay for a year as we head into 2027. Skipping back up, cover crops. This is a plant that will be a crop that will be planted in the fall to make sure that there's cover on the fields over the winter months. Always important to one of the things we talk about the most is just keeping soil covered at all times is practical to help reduce erosion over winter months, especially like this time of year when snow may melt and everything's running off the field. It's good to have good vegetation. So the cover crop will be planted. The forage and biomass planting we already discussed. The next is residue and tillage management. So Mr. Roberts does no-till. That's excellent. That's exactly what we promote to help reduce erosion. So that's acknowledged in here as well. And then a couple more items within the forest fields. There's obstruction removal. That simply means that Mr. Roberts needs to remove a few trees in order to move his equipment safely in between a couple fields. So that's acknowledged in here. That's an allowable activity for the conservation plan. And then the last one is the tree shrub establishment, the tree planting that already occurred out at the property. That's great too. Like we always like to see that as well. And I wanted to make sure that that was included to acknowledge the work that the township has already done out there. And that's it. The last thing, the acknowledgement is that the plan meets tolerable soil loss. That's the trigger for being in compliance with Pennsylvania regulations. And that's it. It's pretty straightforward. Nothing, I kind of had a thought, or I kind of had a feeling after I met with Jeff and Mr. Roberts that it would end up this way, that based on how Mr. Roberts is planning to manage the property, that my job was actually not going to be that difficult. It's harder when a plan shows that the erosion is above T, and then we need to figure out how we're going to get below it and what different practices does the farmer need to change. In this case, Mr. Roberts's plan is solid, and it's a great project, a great idea for the township. So I'm happy to play my small part. And with that, I'll take any questions. I don't want to take up any more of your time.
Oh, Nancy, turn. Once again, we want to thank you for this. I was one of those folks that asked you a bunch of questions, and your answers were very good. So thank you for taking us through this and explaining. And Kenny, thank you for putting a plan together that made his job easy. So yeah, that was really good. Yeah. And we also have to thank Jeff. This is Jeff, I don't mean to keep on picking on you, but this is something you've been dreaming up for a while. And for folks in the township, this is good for the environment, but it's also good for us from a financial perspective. Because Kenny, I think you've been one of the people that have been mowing the fields for us for free, which is very, very kind to you, but it's getting to the point where the fields themselves are not doing you any good because you have so much of the, with some, invasive species that aren't. So it's either paying someone else to mow, which we prefer not to do, or to actually do something worthwhile with them. So the fact, Jeff, that you came up with this idea, brought your great group of people together to make it happen. I think it's fantastic. So thank you. I know we haven't voted yet, but I think you get the sense we're pretty positive. I'll turn over any other board members want to make a comment.
No, I agree. I agree with everything Donna said. Thank you, Kenny. Thanks, Jeff. The only question I really have is what's the plan what is the plan for the real crop after this year?
We're thinking about that, possibly sorghum. Sorghum, one good reason is deer leave it alone. So that's about as far as I.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Yeah, I was just wondering what the first crop might be.
Well, first of all, mushroom one.
Yeah.
And I'd also like to put mushroom on the park because, it's a non-petroleum product and it's organic. So why not?
Yeah.
Dan Loser, can we do the park?
Yeah, that's completely fine. The general rule of thumb, I mean, mushroom soil does have nutrients, so you just want to make sure you put it down at the right time. If it's going to rain 3 hours from when you plan to put it down, maybe wait till the next day, but otherwise you're good to go.
Putting it down if it's going to get washed away.
Any other comments? Dawn, you have to say something.
Well, I have to say that I'm thrilled because, You gentlemen had to jump through some hoops to get all the bells and whistles and everything straightened out so we could do this. And Jeff and I had met with Chester County Parks and Recreation. They are thrilled with this idea because this is a pilot project. They hadn't heard of anybody doing this before, which I think is magnificent for a township that's mostly agriculture. So these kids, we can have the kids come out and really see sorghum. I don't know, but I'm from Virginia. I knew what it was, but a lot of people lately have said, what's that stuff out here? So I think it could be a really, really great educational opportunity. And we've already, Auntie and I've already looked up signs with all the thing about the growing the corn and growing the sorghum. And I think it'll be fabulous. So.
Just a couple things to add, if you don't mind. I have been working with a gentleman. We've been playing a lot of phone tag. We actually have a scheduled meeting for Friday from Chester County Agriculture. So I want to try and get them involved and see if they can foot some of the bill for the signs, maybe. But he also seems very excited about the project. The other thing, just to let the board know, because it was important to me, I did reach out to talk to Dr. Hoffman, who's on our planning commission and who has the vineyard next door to us. So I explained the idea to him, and he really likes the idea. And as I mentioned to Kenny, and I know he knows this, and I mentioned to Dan Belozer, you know, he goes, Jeffrey, you know, no 2,4-D, right? So I said, yes, we do know that. So otherwise, he thought it was a good idea and congratulated us on coming up with it.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to authorize the township solicitor, Guy Donatelli, and Jeff Eastburn, our operations manager, to write and negotiate a lease agreement, including the items discussed at tonight's meeting. Can I have a second? Antia, any discussion? Okay, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Yay.
Thanks.
We'll see.
Thanks, Kenny. Okay, next up is the Township Emergency Operations Plan. I thought I saw Harold Wall.
Yeah, let me comment. So, for better or for worse, I actually read this thing. And I was struck by page 7. It had red text on it that made either words were misspelled or they didn't make any sense. I think maybe AI did it. I don't know. But I did talk to Jeff about it, and he talked to Harold. They just need to go back and rework that first page because we would be expected to sign off on this. And I'm not comfortable signing off on a document that's drafted. I don't think
I agree. I
anybody-
saw the errors, so I agree. I have that marked as well.
So Harold's aware of that. He's going to go take it off. I mean, I hope you read it, but it's a good plan. It's just this first page. Someone decided to add stuff that didn't make a whole lot of sense. And so he's going to fix it. We'll bring it back. It'll look the same as it did before, except the first page will be fixed. And then it's important that we finish the work on it next month. So he has to have it back by next month.
Okay.
Okay. So thank you for that.
Delay and move to March.
Yeah, I think with you, Guy, I think it's all you.
Good evening. Let's address the pro first. Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
We have two guys here.
Oh, well, I defer to the other guy. Unless you want this guy.
You're on, Mr. Donatelli.
You're the right
All
guy,
right,
Mr.
thank
Dunn.
you. That rarely happens. Very rarely happens. So let's discuss the pro first. What I've done and what is contained in the packet is an ordinance for the board's consideration. And I'm requesting or presenting to the board the opportunity to authorize me to advertise that ordinance so it can be addressed if the board wishes at its March meeting. It's a relatively simple ordinance. It simply rescinds the current ordinance in anticipation of a reassignment of responsibilities of the volunteerism that's been shown by Pro over the years. So that's what I've done. That's what you have. And if the board is so inclined, I would be advertising that in the daily local news and then presenting that at the next meeting for your consideration.
So Guy, just make a comment, and the rest of the board make a comment. So Nan brought up an interesting point, which talked about redefining the pro, but I'm wondering if can we rescind this ordinance and then take this away and think about how if we want to do this, Dan makes a good point, the consolidated plan has some things that the pro has been assigned to, so how do we handle that? So that may be something for a group to do, but I guess my question is, do we need to rescind this and then come back and do a new ordinance?
So what I'd like to do, because I believe that was a good point, is see if there are any unintended consequences with respect to development of a comp plan through the rescission of the ordinance. If there is, and I'll take a look at that tomorrow. I was going to take a look at it tonight while the meeting was going on, but I was unable to do that and report back. So that's something I can do relatively quickly. I would say tomorrow, but at least by the end of the week, to see what moving parts there are with respect to the interrelationship between Pro and its duties as it relates to the comp plan. I'm happy to look at that because that was a very good point.
One thing I'm concerned about, I was sort of surprised to learn that there wasn't any official meetings between the pro and the board where concerns, issues could be discussed and sort of ironed out or not. If they couldn't be ironed out, then
There was a meeting, there was,
of the full board.
so not the full, yeah, they're here every month at the full board meeting. So they could talk about things, anything they want at the board meeting, but there's also a board member at each pro meeting, at least one. Most of the time, there was one or two that in the meetings that they did have. No, does that answer your question? Okay.
It's less than I would have expected when it's something as, to me, this is big, as getting rid of the pro that was talked about in the comprehensive plan, and that the residents that I've talked to and the members of the pro I've talked to greatly value. So it would have been nice, I think, to have a more formal discussion back and forth.
Yeah, I think the one thing that maybe you don't have the experience is that you weren't here. So it was month after month. There was back and forth with the pro. So I know you of all people were part of that. Dave was part of it. I was part of it to a point, but it was mostly Dawn and Dave towards the end. I mean, it had been going on for over a year. And so, it wasn't a meeting that was just dedicated to that conversation. It was part of an agenda item where they could be.
This went on for a year or two, that there's been issues and problems, and everybody was painfully aware of it. I don't think there is any way that anybody could say that this wasn't discussed ad nauseum.
I think as Guy said, and I think you've alluded to too, Nancy, it is going to be helpful to look and see if we miss something in terms of the comprehensive plan. So I think that's a good thing. And Guy, thanks for agreeing to look at that. I don't think, based on what I've heard from the board, and Nancy, you may disagree, I don't think any of us are going to agree to keep the pro going the way it was. I think it would be, as Nan said, what would that other thing be? What would that other
But I would like
Roddy,
to point out, to Nan's point, we do have people taking care of our trails, and we do have people right now working on the trails. It's not that we've given up on the trails at all. We do have people that are doing the trails. It's just not the people that you want.
But
I'd like to say it can't be all of them. I think you need more people, not fewer.
I think that the premise of this whole thing was never to take anyone off of the volunteer list. It was just to change the management of that group. That's it. And we welcome anyone that wants to volunteer and help us with any activity in the township. And I'll go on the record right now saying that we thought about this, we talked about it. Guy, I'll ask a different way. Is there any way that when you're looking at the master plan, if we could just transfer words in that to change it to the township management staff instead of the pro? I mean, that would be something to look at as well.
Sure, and there's always a process for amending the comp plan as well, but we could do that. Sure.
It's more protracted. And what I wonder is if we might consider a different route and separate out, the more event-based things and then the trails and parks-based things. That's something I'd like to see considered. To reduce the role of the current pro perhaps and make it more specific.
the park and.
It's whatever we would decide it would be reduced to, but still have a role for them.
This other thing that.
We do have a role for them. We're not alleviating anybody's role to do anything.
Guy, do you know what you need to, I think you know what you need to do, right? You're going to go, tell me, maybe I should just check with you. You're going to go check the comp plan and see if there was anything that we missed or unintended consequences.
I've already sent an email to Ms. Reinstatter because she was the one that did the ordinance that's in your packet.
Okay. And then,
To see whether there's, first of all, confirm what we heard. Is there any existential interconnection between the two?
right.
And if there is, what can be done to knit that seam shut, so to speak?
Okay. And then what, do we hold off on looking at the rescind, the document you prepared for us? Wait till we hear back from you before we.
Yeah,
Look at that.
so all I'm really asking for, because I like to get that sort of approval, is permission to advertise. And if I were to work with your staff and we found reason to believe that there wasn't a tremendous interconnection, just assuming there wasn't, we'd let you know, and then at some point you could authorize this advertisement if that's what the board would like to do. But all I'm looking to do is advertise it. That's about it.
How do you want, I mean, I've looked at it, it's pretty vanilla, in my opinion. Other people look at it other ways, but can we do a nod, or do you want us to actually
Yeah.
vote?
What I would recommend, and again, this is completely up to you, is to just give me a head nod to advertise it so that it can be addressed in your next meeting, but task me with making sure that there isn't something in the comp plan that would make that a foolish act. And if I look at that and I see, wow, I got to deal with that, I won't advertise it, and I'll let Jeff know that. But if there isn't, then I'll go ahead and advertise it, and then you can address it at your March meeting. Does that make some sense?
Sounds reasonable to me. Yeah.
So do we nod, what do you want, I mean, head nod? Yeah.
Yeah.
Aye, yeah.
And
Yeah.
Nancy says a no, so.
Okay, I'm happy to take care of that.
Thanks.
And I'll get back to your administration on what we find out about the comp plan.
Yeah, and my no head nod was I only wish that we could just put it off a little while longer while we think about it some more.
You're leaving it, but I do not want to lose the thought about rethinking. I think, yeah. No, go here.
I was here before there was a microphone. Just one suggestion. It's not very hard. Just take a look at the comp plan because there's actually a matrix and it says that the pro has to work with the board and maybe the staff too. I mean, it's not just the pro. And just look at what the suggestions are in the comp plan of what the pro should do. It's very different from what you guys were discussing in January. I was surprised that the pro was in charge of a lot of the things that had nothing to do when we wrote the comp plan. It's more detailed stuff.
Can I ask you, has the pro done anything in relation to the comp plan yet?
I wasn't on the committee, so
Okay.
I don't know. You'll have to take a look and maybe answer that for yourself, seeing each of you were at the meetings.
No, I think you make a really good point, and because there could be things that they should have been doing and they weren't, and then we need to create
I
something
think-
to do that.
Yeah, I think some of it was distraction. So what I actually saw was the pro should be divided in half and it should be called something else, for a lot of the stuff that Dawn does, which is very important. But it kind of diluted what the pros' focus was to do trails and talk about open space and do what what I consider big, huge jobs, for Franklin Township to carry the comp plan through. So take a look at it. And I just would ask that, whatever guy finds out whether it does or doesn't work, that maybe you redefine and go back to that original premise of what pro was, which was different than what it's doing now. And then as far as the members, I don't know whether you, start over again or make it smaller, more focused, that sort of thing. People can come in and talk about that whole thing. So, all right, thank you.
Thanks for your help.
Yep.
Back to you guys.
Lexington Point, please.
Sure. So when we last discussed Lexington Point, we were down to 6 units that had not affirmatively confirmed their obligations under the various legal documents relating to the wastewater treatment plant. And despite the best efforts of Lexington and their folks, there are 6 units out there that have not recognized their obligations. Underneath the First Amendment to the wastewater treatment plant agreement, the obligation then falls to Lexington to indemnify the township for those 6 units. And I had a conversation with the developer's attorney earlier this week where we agreed that indemnification was indeed required, and we began to discuss the components of what that indemnification would provide for, and the 2 eventualities or possibilities, is probably a better word, that we provided for in our conversations was, number one, the sewer rents that might remain unpaid as a result of individuals who did not recognize their obligation to pay for the disposal and treatment of their effluent. So that would be one area of the indemnification. The second area would be for any legal fees or expenses that the township would have to incur in order to enforce its ordinances to assure compliance with the unit's obligations for participation in the wastewater treatment plant. And the third component to the indemnification would be some form of security to assure that going forward, there would be some resource fund or other backstop should that indemnity need to be called upon by the township. So Riley Notzel and I, who is counsel for Lexington, have had those conversations. I told him I would report on those conversations tonight, which is what I'm doing now. And he and I would ultimately go about drafting a written indemnification which would protect the township against those 2 possibilities: attorney's fees and failure to pay sewer rents. So that's the most recent activity with respect to Lexington.
So that's really good, Guy. I mean, I feel like it's a long time coming, so thank you for getting us this point. There's a message, and I don't know exactly how we take it back to Lexington Point, but the clock is ticking. So I mean, because in good faith, right? They're looking to us to take over operational control in April, April 1st. Now, I know Melissa's here, you have a presentation for us, but there's certain things that need to be done sooner rather than later to make, so Melissa can do what she needs to do. And so you guys don't have until April 1st to make this happen. So can I just turn it over to you, Melissa, and we'll talk about it at a public meeting. And then I think Jeff's plan is to tell Lexington Point, look at the YouTube, hear what the board said, but this could go, we don't want it to, but if they don't meet these timelines, this could go into the next half, could go into June. I don't want it, Melissa doesn't want it, but we're not taking this thing if Melissa doesn't have everything she needs by her timelines. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to you, Melissa.
I'm just going to ask this question. John, Mr. Auerbach and Guy, can you see this presentation or not?
I see a orange stalagmite. There it is.
Screen, Jeff.
Okay. Okay.
Are we?
Unfortunately, Melissa, you'll have to sit next to me because it's on the wrong screen. But the public can see it online and it's being recorded.
Can you put it back up so we can see it?
Oh, God, this is going to be impossible.
Yeah. I think you should see.
You put it up. Is it up now?
So,
Not to me.
It's not the guy.
So maybe I'll
just a delay. Jeff, it's just a delay.
Okay, it's back to the stalactites. Look at your phone.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on beyond that, go to the next one now.
Yeah, this message is more for Lexington Point anyway, so we just,
We'll go through. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's more for Lexington Point. It needs to be on this screen.
Or Melissa sends it to her, yeah.
Yeah, I can get my computer.
Go ahead.
All right, put it back on that.
We are working on that, Jim.
It's fine. And it mics up.
It actually may cost us nothing. First, kiddo, if you're going to share your screen.
No, your screen. Just put it up.
Everyone see this, Mr. Donatelli.
Yes.
About time.
Okay.
Let's make this happen quickly. So for my overview and timeline, I would need to start preparing my invoices by March 20th to email them or send them through the mail because the billing cycle starts April 1st. And that date's important because 30 days after April 1st, the township has an ordinance that has a 10% late fee. So I need to get them in the mailboxes or delivered to the resident's email address beforehand so they have time to pay.
So what do you need for that? Do you need addresses or what? It's just that
I
you
need
need
the-
to know that we're going, that.
I need the turnover of the plant
Okay.
by March 20th. So after our next supervisors meeting.
Yeah, Melissa, to be clear, you're ready to go.
Oh yeah, you'll see that.
Okay.
I'm
So we need the indemnification done.
correct.
And do you need any addresses or anything else?
No, you'll see this later.
Okay,
No.
okay.
So, for the utility account transfers, I would say mid-April. That's only because I know how the billing cycle works with electric and I don't want to take it over too soon. And I want them to give me their list on what I'm looking at to transfer over because that's the backside of QuickBooks that I have to program for our chart of accounts. So I need that beforehand before I can start paying the bills. For resident communication, I sent initial notifications, a few letters. Is posted on our website. Here lately, Stacy just sent a postcard mailing out. It's posted on our social media and website. And I kept the message very brief just to say to the residents that upcoming soon, you may have a sewer bill. I didn't want to give a date because I'm still in the transition. So it was hard to plan and to keep everybody up to date if I don't even know what that date is. And here's a sample. Oh, you have it. There's the sample of the update that was sent out to each resident. So with that, my thought process was a lot of the residents, they will call in to give us email addresses and their information, but a lot of times it's hard to take an email address over the phone. So I just want them to email our info account so I can capture, because primarily that's how I'm going to do the billing is through email.
So they've already been communicated to you, right?
Yes, and Stacy can attest, and this postcard just went out last Friday.
So I know, no pressure on you, but that's even more important that we make this April 1st date because we want to keep the continuity going. We sent this out, we say it's coming, and if they got to wait 6 months, show up, it's not real good.
Yeah. So then, this next slide. Next slide, Jeff. So this next slide exhibits the email on the left side that will come from the treasurer's account, saying they have an invoice due of $590. And the sample is on the right-hand side of the invoice. The only thing that will change on that is the net 30 days. It'll be due upon receipt. And then next slide, Jeff. This is on our landing page.
Melissa, could I ask about the due upon receipt? Is that
Yes.
just for the first time or is that going to be a
Each
regular?
and every time. It's in our ordinance.
Abby, oh, I see. Never mind. It just seems a little strict to me, but that's usually it's a 30-day thing.
Yeah, so it's in the ordinance and then after 30 days, I think it's 1/2 of 1% that gets
They
charged.
still have
over.
30 days is what, yeah.
Right.
They still have 30 days.
So that's why I'm
before-
trying to send it out to give them a lot of notification prior to the bill date. This would be our landing page and Jeff will go to our landing page. So this is what they would see. And this is, Jeff and I have been diligently working on this. So all these tabs on the bottom where it says online payments, questions and answers, and contact us, they will all be clickable links. So when you click on it, it'll take you somewhere else. And here's an example of what that would look like. So when you first click on pay your bill, it'll come up with this, just saying what our processor charges for municipal and the fee. And go ahead and click on it. And then this is where it'll take you. Agree. All the way up in the right.
So they can pay electronically. Is that what this is all about? So they can pay? Okay.
And then they can establish an account and then they can set up auto pay. So I'm trying to make this super. And then click what. So it's all programmed to what's going to be paid, and it has it broke down per quarter. And then this is all secure. This is why there's a separate computer in my back office for just like billing and payments, receiving checks. It's different from this computer that I do all this stuff on. So it's secure. And then next slide. And then this is just, I was just trying to come up with questions and answers for the residents, which will be my next mailing. I did send this stuff to Guy today, and he came back with another question, which will be added, and he's going to look up some of that. And it would be question number 8, is this payment mandatory, or which obviously is yes, but he's going to give the legal. And then after that, I came up with question number 9, which would be what are the late fees, and pretty much lay it out. This is, I mean, it's listed on the website, but a simple Q&A would be pretty simple. And that's what I got.
Okay, so I want to, I wish the whole township could be here for this, but I can't help but call out how great our staff is. So Melissa could have very easily said, let me pay somebody to put this together for me. She could have done it, and the residents of Lexington Point would have paid for it because it's been all part of the process. But our people don't do that. So what did Melissa do? She put this all together herself. And I'm sure Stacy helped and Jeff helped, but it's amazing what you were able to do, because you could have, like I said, you could have very easily paid somebody. Right now we have our taxes collected by somebody. You're doing all this work. And so it's amazing. I can't say enough. It's just, I couldn't do it. It's just amazing. Just another comment. What I'm seeing is March 20th is the date. We need to have this indemnification done so you know it's happening.
Right.
Okay. So Guy, I don't know who has to take the message back, but that's like the date in the sand. If we can't get this by March 20th, we may be moving into the next quarter. And we don't want that. This is not a stall tactic. We really want to get this moving. So that's the date we're looking at. And just one last question for me anyways. We always talked about having a meeting with Lexington Point before we did this. Do you still want that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think that's important. So that meeting 2 weeks before you actually take over, so that's also a line in the sand for here that we'll need that.
Correct. So if you,
I'm sorry.
sorry, if you go back to my slide to the first, where there's the Microsoft document, the left-hand side. So for my mind to organize all this, I have to make an outline. So my outline everybody has. And I went over this with Stan. Guy looked at it today. You can see where we're at, what we need to do. But the biggest thing I need is I need all the sewer plants bills, what accounts we have, so I can program the chart of accounts according with what I have to do for PA. So I know what bucket I'm pulling and how I'm accounting for it. So that's my top priority right now.
Does Lexington Point know that?
Not yet.
Well,
That's why
okay.
we're having this meeting now.
And
And
I'm sorry, Melissa.
go ahead.
I have had 2 conversations with Stan. I feel he clearly understands we need to have this meeting with Lexington Point. And part of my words to him were, I don't want to wait till the last day of the 2 weeks.
So it's
I'd rather have it sooner.
It's
rather
February
than later.
19th now. It needs to get on the books
Yes.
now.
Now, yes,
Or this will not happen.
yes.
Okay.
Not this one.
Yeah.
And Melissa, I have a question. We've talked a lot about billing, but what about the other fees that will be coming in for this, right? I mean, that's the chart of, is that the
That's
part of
the
the
chart of
you're
accounts.
talking about?
The
That would be
expense,
all the other expenses to run this thing.
right.
Right.
So that's the most important part.
Right.
As it turns out, the billing is the simple part. The harder part is developing the chart of accounts. And so I really need to know what bills they're paying, who they're paying them to, and how I'm going to account for that in our books.
I have a question. Will it be possible to record that meeting for residents who can't make it, so you can make it available to them? It would be great if you could. I don't know if it's possible.
I don't.
Well, I think this is more,
No, it's a meeting with.
I think this is more internal. Right. Internal me. And the last thing I'd like to point out, when I was creating my outline, you'll see there's as Willow would say, a fuchsia color note. Our current EEMA contract is dated March 19th, 2025, and is set to expire by our next meeting. So I came across those dates as I was creating this. So that might be a Stan or a Guy, or I don't know who.
So we
So at our next board meeting. So that's why it's in fuchsia. That's all I have.
well, like, once again, great job. We're all appreciative of it. All
Thank you.
right, Guy, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, I'm here to give a, excuse me, year-end report for the Avondale Fire Department for year-end of 2025. We had a total of 1,901 EMS calls in 2025.
So Guy, can I just stop? When you talk to us now, are you going to be talking to us about just Franklin Township data or just, or the whole?
Going Franklin Township.
Perfect. Okay, so this is focused on us.
Yes. I'm just giving you the, like I say, total calls for EMS in 2025 was 1,901 calls. In Franklin Township, we had 28 of them EMS calls. Fire responses were 576, 10 of were in Franklin Township. Average response time last year was about nine and a half minutes for fire and 8 minutes for EMS from the time of dispatch to time on location.
Is that considered good or
Yes.
I mean, I think it's great. Except if it was my house, I'd want you there
Yeah.
2 minutes before,
Yeah.
but it's, so we're.
The standard is from time of dispatch to time of having a suppression piece or an ambulance on the scene. The standard is about 11 and a half minutes. And that's a NFPA standard. So
Oh, it's a PA, not just a rural.
no, it's a National Fire Protection Agency standard. So I'm pretty good. I'm pretty proud of what we're doing here. We're getting out the door quick, getting properly staffed. Just to touch some base on some of the things we did last year, excuse me. Training hours total was 1,352. Had 2,820 meeting hours. 8,064 duty crew hours. What's that is we are trying to staff the station from 6 at night till 10 at night with volunteers, along with the career staff. Because career staff, I'll explain that a little bit later on, but that's where that number comes from. Number of hours on fire calls were 7,600. Miscellaneous activities were 7,264 hours for a total of 27,100 man hours for volunteers. Career staff, counting the calls that we went on, we had 889 fire police respond. 77 administration personnel responded. You know, we might have the treasurer might have came out and helped did something. That's what we give them credit. But there were 77 of them admin response to calls.
But they're firefighters, right?
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
okay.
But like I say, their role they're not on the books as active firefighters, they're on the books as admin. So that's why I'm reporting it like that. Career staff, we had 1,341 respond to the calls. Volunteers were 2,400 or 2,430, which comes out to 43% career getting on the fire truck. We're still at 57% of volunteer getting on the fire truck. Some fundraising we did last year, we ended up collecting $30,600 and we got $30,000 in grants for a total of $6,060 for above and beyond what we get from other places. I provided you got the list of all the other stuff as far as how we do stuff. Basically, the way we try to do things right now, our standard right now, we have 14 full-time personnel, meaning firefighter EMTs, they're cross-trained. They're firefighters and EMTs. We have 14. We have 27 part-time people on the books. That don't mean they're there all the time. They fill in. Basically, what we do is in the day.
Are they also firefighters?
Yes.
So everybody you have is?
Not everybody we have. We do have just some EMT strictly for EMS.
Okay.
But all of our full-timers are cross-trained to do both. Like I said, the way we try to do it right now is we try to have 5 people there in the daytime. And that comes from 6 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night. At 6 o'clock at night, it drops down to 4 because then we have the volunteers come in. And then at 10 o'clock at night till 6 in the morning, it goes back up to 5. So then the volunteers respond from home. So as far as any big things, we are not planning on any large purchases anytime in the near future from Avondale. I'm sure you're all well aware we did vote to proceed with the merger. We are still actively working on that. Neil and I will come here in January, about April's meeting if we're permitted to get on. And we will give you an update at that time of where we're at. You know, right now there's still a lot of moving parts. We have a meeting Saturday with all of our committees to give them marching orders to move them in the right direction, to move us in the right direction. But other than that, that's basically, like I say, where we're at right now.
I have a couple questions for you. So I just want to go over what you had said before. You said you have 5 people in the day. This is your full-time staff, right? And when you,
Well, full-time and part-time combination.
oh, okay, so 5.
No, it's combination full-time and part-time.
Okay, but
Yeah, I'm sorry.
they're paid. That's the
Yes,
paid staff.
yes,
Okay,
yes,
thanks,
yes.
Angie. Paid staff. I'm just trying to get a sense of how this works. And when we consider daytime is 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Yes.
Because that's when we have our paid staff. And then when you go from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. or
Drop 1 paid personnel, the 4 paid personnel still there. We have 3, basically what you got to realize, we have 4 people right now, 24/7. Paid people, career.
okay. So
From 6 at night till 10, it drops down to 4. That's because the volunteers are there. And then at 10 o'clock, basically what that guy or girl coming in, so if I'm on duty,
right.
they're coming in to take my place as a driver is what it comes down to.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna just go through it again. I just want to make sure I get it right. So during the 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., we have 5 paid staff,
Yeah.
right? And then from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., we have 4 paid staff.
yes,
Right. And then from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.,
it goes back to 5.
paid staff.
Yes.
And then supplementing that is your volunteers as you need them.
From 6 to 10. And we're doing, I don't know well, I know what it is. If you look outside, there's just much snow.
Right.
So there's nothing to do outside. So we're actually, I mean, like tonight we have a CPR first aid course and I looked on my phone back here. We got our 1 engine still out of service, but we got the engine, the utility, the tankers all staffed until probably 10 o'clock tonight.
Okay. So don't just take you back. I'm just trying to understand it. So then you also made a comment that 43, I think the way you phrased it, when you looked at the percent of people on a truck, you said 43% of career, 57% of volunteers. How does that work when most of it's paid?
Like today, for instance, we had a working house fire in Kennett.
Okay.
3 career guys were on the truck, 1 volunteer.
Okay.
And out the door.
Okay. So that's still, because you makes it sound like you have more volunteers going, but
No, it's
you should
average.
supplement the paid. You
It's
should.
an average overall.
Oh. So was it correct when you said 43%, when you have a truck, 43% are career, 57% are volunteers?
That was 2025's numbers.
Okay,
For the whole year, it come down to 47% or 43% career was on apparatus, 57% were still volunteer.
yeah, it just seems high for the volunteers when it sounds like you really have your paid staff is your foundation and you fit the volunteers in as needed.
In the daytime, they are our foundation. I mean, in the daylight hours, they are definitely our foundation.
Okay. All right. I mean, I'm not going to belabor it. It's just interesting.
I sent Melissa a whole thing that we printed up.
Yeah, I have.
Kind of explains, I think it'll explain everything a little better.
I promise to give you guys a chance. Let me just finish this up. So you talked about, that your 2,190 man hours uncovered. So what does that mean? Do you need to hire more paid staff? Is that what that's saying? Or you're not planning to do that? Can you just help me understand what that means?
Let me see where you're at here.
So it's like, we had the 14 full-time, 27 part-time. And then you talked about the man hours covered. And then you say have 2,190 man hours not covered. I was just wondering, does that mean there's a need to
Basically,
do something?
what we're looking at there is 2,190 man hours aren't covered. If you do that, and that's covered by career staff. You got to understand, we're talking career. This is strictly career staff.
Uncovered by career staff.
Yes,
Okay,
that is
gotcha.
the numbers uncovered by career staff.
Okay,
So that if we wanted to cover them, we would have to hire some more people.
okay.
But right now, knock on wood, we're doing pretty good with volunteers.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask one more question, and I'll hand it over to the board. All right, so you're saying you're not, I know you can only talk about what you know today. Next month or 6 months from now will be totally different. But based on what you're looking at right now, you're not planning to hire additional full-time staff?
Right now, we're not. We have interviewed 4 part-timers and 3 of them have accepted.
Okay,
So that, our goal is to try to fill in the empty spots with part-timers versus full-timers as long as we can.
so your plan is to bring in 3 more part-time staff?
3 more part-time staff will be coming on board.
And so that will be an additional cost for your budget?
No, what it is you got to understand that 27 part-timers we have, they are there to fill in when the full-timers are on vacation.
It's your pool to pull from.
Like right now in the daytime, we have 4 full-timers on duty, and the 5th person is always a part-time.
Gotcha. It's a pool that you can work from.
It's a pool that we can work from.
I got it. All right, thank you.
Right now, like I said, with the weather, we're doing pretty good, but once the weather breaks, everybody goes to the beach and all that, you're gonna see more part-timers in there than full-timers. So, because they take their vacation and what have you. So.
Thank you for the report. I wondered, just ballpark, what do you use your grant money for? 30,000.
This year, I'm trying to think what we did here, and don't hold me to
You can
it.
get that.
The 2 grant money, no, it's the FEMA grants from the Pennsylvania Fire Commissioner's office. The one grant that we used for is because we like to try to educate the community. And we found a fire extinguisher simulator. It kind of looks like an electric fireplace, but you use a fire extinguisher, you put it out, and it's mobile. Like if you guys had something here at the park, we could bring it up, set it up and do this. That's what we got with the fire department grant. The EMS grant, we bought 3 sets of fire gear. And this average set of fire gear right now is $5,000. That's coats and pants. That don't include helmet and boots. That's just the pants and the coat. It's right about $5 grand. So that's what we did that for. In the past, I've gotten grants from John Kane's office to do some upgrades in the firehouse. I'm the type of person that if I can find some money somewhere, I'll go get it. So.
Thank you.
Good. I'm good.
Thank you. Sorry about it. Sorry for being confused.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this before. We do want to stay as aware of your budget or where you think it's going, because we need to prepare for.
Budget, I will have a 2027 budget whenever I can hold till April, but you'll have it by June.
That's good.
And you're still going to work on that 3 to 5 year budget?
Yes.
Okay.
I've already, that's going to be one of our marching orders to the Finance and Budget Committee Saturday.
Perfect.
To
Gotta
To
get
get,
record.
no, that's to get the 2027 budget out by June. As soon as that hits the tables, they're gonna do the 3 to 5 year budget.
I mean, I think we talked about this before, but I would look at, once you have a budget, it would be a draft budget that we talk about.
Oh, yeah, no.
Right, because there's not gonna, we will do our best, but we
I will
need
tell
to talk.
you. I don't care who's in the room. I will tell you what took place last year from the other side. I can reassure you it will not happen.
Thank you.
I can guarantee you that will not happen.
So it's good, I call it, you want to communicate the budget, you want to very much be a back and forth between us. So we know where you're going, you know where we're going, so we can, because look, you're at 9 minutes, 9 minutes, 8 minutes. We want to keep you there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because that's people's lives.
I wanted to go even better than that.
That's what I like
I mean,
to
like
hear.
today, we had the house fire. I was at the firehouse. They rolled out the door. I was in the back office and I didn't even make the engine. They were gone. I mean, as soon as they chimed up, we have a TV that looks like this and it comes up. They were gone. So
We appreciate, we have a question from you.
I'm sorry.
You had mentioned in the beginning, two, numbers, like you said, I think you said there's like 1,901 calls, of which 20 something was from this township. And then there was some other number that was huge, but only like 3 from this township. And so. Sorry,
Yeah.
so I'm just wondering, and I have no idea, and I'm from East Nottingham Township, not the township, but I'm just curious. When Franklin pays the bill, is it in context with that?
No, we don't bill strictly on call volume.
Percentage of times this township is much smaller than everywhere else.
When we do our formula, it's call volume, population and assessed value for fire. EMS is call volume and population. Is how I think, you correct me if I'm wrong, Don, I believe you guys were involved in making up that formula. John Auerbach, yeah, correctly, John and Curtis Mason and
So does
Dave
that mean
White.
that it's smaller than some other townships?
Oh, yeah, I can tell you right
I
now,
can show you the number, yeah. It's
New Garden
still a
Town.
lot, but it's a lot less than some of the other ones.
New Garden Township, for instance, I ran out of that 1,901 EMS calls, 1,364 were in New Garden Township. No, they're really not, because I'm getting $1.2 million. I'm getting $1.2 million from them for a contract, so, you know.
No, we're all paying. I mean,
I appreciate
and we
that.
appreciate, thank you, John, for what you did to make the formula. You guys deserve the money. Yeah, you deserve.
Like I said, I will reassure you that there, as I said to another township, there will be no, and excuse my language, there will be no willy-nilly shit going on. It'll be done right.
Yeah, good.
So trust me, please trust me.
Thank you.
Trust but verify, but
Yeah.
yeah, we getting a lot of questions from us, but thank you, but you answer them and we appreciate that.
He even answers Boy Scout questions.
Thank you. So next on the agenda, we have the report from the Historical Commission and Historical Architectural Review Board from Paul Grass.
Okay, so we met, the HARB and the Historical Commission met in a combined meeting on February 3rd, and that was our first meeting of the year. And so we elected our officers, as we do every year, on our first meeting. And I was again elected chair of both. I will say I had no competition. To be honest, nobody really wants the job. So, and I don't mind doing it. So it works out well that way. We discussed several things. Mainly there were historical commission issues. We talked about the Churchill African Church Cemetery.
The next step on that remains as it has for a little while to actually remove the cut debris and have it chipped. My best guess is it's probably going to be April for the weather will permit us to do it, and then we will have to wait until Jim Durazio has time. He's basically doing that as a community service, so I'm not complaining if we have to wait. What the other thing we will probably be pursuing this year with the cemetery is additional cleanup. We moved a lot of invasives, but there are more left. We got the main core of the cemetery are cleaned out, but we need to push it a little further back. I'm not really sure of my directions. I think it would be south, actually on the cemetery plot. And you know, then we will have some debris with that, and we have to basically see to it that the shrubs that we've attacked don't come back. So that will probably be some fairly tight spot spraying. It may be digging up some roots. It will depend upon what allows us to accomplish that. Some of it is Russian olive, and I gather from Nan Latimer's experience with it, can be very tough to eradicate. So, and it will take ongoing maintenance to make sure that basically we don't end up with new seedlings once we get this stuff out of there. We are willing to help with a cleanup on Mount Olivet Cemetery, but I haven't had any communications lately with Chuck McBaugh Jr., who is essentially the trustee for that. Again, that's more of a spring to fall project, and I don't want to undertake, for the historical commission at least, I don't want to undertake anything large until we've got the other cemetery in hand. We talked a little bit about the Mason-Dixon Art Corner connectivity project. You may think you sort of put it to rest by voting on it, but it's not designed to die. And it's now been approved by all, it's been accepted by all 4 townships. I believe Elk accepted it with some conditions. Yeah. Yeah, I know this because I sit in on London Britain's Historical Commission, and Eileen Parrish is a member of that commission as well as being on the Board of Supervisors, and so we talked a little bit about that.
So, Paul, I mean, just to remind, we're kind of in Elk's position, right? We had this conversation before that we agreed to the plan in terms of we thought there were good ideas, but there's really no money to do anything,
So I'm not calling for a spending spree. Let's start there. What I'm saying is that one of the things the plan calls for is continued communication between the participating townships in the plan, setting up some sort of, the 2 options were Friends Committee or some unsimilar committee that might consist of representatives from, say, the historical commissions in each township, simply to keep the discussion going. The discussion could involve, you know, putting out a couple pamphlets to make certain aspects of various townships' history and things that are talked about in this project available to the public, such as the stuff I've been doing. Or it could be trying to find out grant opportunities that might enable accomplishing some of these things. Or it might just really be kind of raising an awareness of things. I'm sort of convinced that as a result of this plan, that the Friends of White Clay Creek Preserve had moved on a project to develop what I will call, what I think is best called unofficial signage for the tri-state marker. Sarah Sato, who is the education coordinator for the preserve, has taken it a step further and is advocating now for an actual state wayside for the tri-state marker, which is what it really should have, and it's what really should be down in the historic district in this where the London Track Meeting House is. They'd have some unofficial signs down there currently. So that's going to be pursued. Should it not happen immediately at the state level, the work will not go for naught because the materials that we prepare could be used for an unofficial wayside. So it's essentially a win-win.
I just have a question. How old is Mount Olivet, that cemetery?
Mount Olivet,
Mhm.
let's see.
Just ballpark.
I can guess. But so I would say probably 1860. Guessing is not my preferred means of doing business.
The Churchill African American.
So the parcel is acquired, in both cases, the parcels are acquired earlier than, and the church has come into existence earlier than the cemetery really does. I want to say it would, I mean, theoretically it exists from the beginning of the church, but I think the burials started 1870. I mean, it's a funny way to think about it, but you establish a church and you have to wait for members to die before you can have a cemetery. So yeah, so I may be actually a little early on Mount Olivet, but they're both over 100 years old, and neither of them have recent burials. I know that I think the 1930s is the date of the last burial for Churchill. There are far fewer burials in Mount Olivet, and I don't really have as good a grasp on what's there because it has a trustee. It's been better maintained, even if it may look a little rough around the edges right now. And we've not been actively involved in that as we've been in Churchill. When we began Churchill, we actually did not know whose cemetery it was. We knew it was a cemetery. We knew it never, but aside from the original deed for the church, there'd been no deed activity. So it wasn't clear to us what church denomination we were dealing with. And that took a couple of years for us to figure out. I don't want to pursue anything on my own for in terms of establishing some sort of committee, but with the blessing of the board, I would like to at least see what we could perhaps work up as an ongoing working group or friends group or whatever we want to call it for the Mason-Dixon Connectivity Project.
Did you just need us to nod our heads or give a thumbs up?
I don't think it needs a resolution. I just need to know that that any initial exploration I'm undertaking is done with permission of the board.
I'm good with that.
Dawn, are you okay? Yeah. No objections?
Yeah, I mean, in theory, something can actually be created by those who see themselves as friends and operate independently. But personally, I feel it's a little better if the historical commissions are involved, since we've been the ones who are working on the project.
We work well together anyway, so just keep up.
Yeah. I'm gonna skip ahead on my notes if you're following my report. I just want to let everyone know that on March 17th at 7 p.m. in the London Township Building, Jim Koterski will be speaking about local potters in the area. The one associated with Franklin Township are the Copes, Darlington Cope, and I think by the time Wilbur Cope got involved, they'd moved further out and switched from sort of what I'll call tableware to nursery ware, making clay pots for nurseries. And I think they relocated up toward Lincoln University. Finally, I want to just mention and talk a little bit about America 250. So don't have, I mean, I think the most specific plans we have in the township we've been talking about a fall festival that would be focused on the 250th anniversary. I want to make sure that that's indeed something we are talking about because that's officially where we are going.
I don't know if that's true.
I don't know.
Okay, so that's important yeah. So, I mean, there've been some talk about it um,
Agree. We probably need to get a group together at least to agree what they are going to do and not going to do. But I don't know who may
Volunteer.
to work with. So Melissa, is it all right how do you want to do this? Or should we talk, you and Jeff want to talk and then figure out how to make this work? Because I don't want to speak for your time or Stacy's time or Jeff's time. So could you guys get together and then and of course Dawn's always, could you talk about it and then come back to us, and so how we could talk about it at the workshop meeting, or if we want to do something before that?
If we're gonna go with Fall Festival.
Or do you need to get a group of people, however you want to do it? Do you have to get a group of people to decide whether you're going to do a fall festival? Do you need to just?
I think we haven't decided. I think there's been no decision made.
So I'm saying,
But we're gonna explore it
yeah,
and come back.
can a group, can a subgroup to explore it and then come back with a,
Who's on the subgroup?
right, Jeff wants to say something.
I know Paul's going to hate me for this question,
yeah,
but
I
I
know
have
the
to ask.
question is, would I like to be involved?
How much would you be involved in such an event? Are you in the
I'd be-
2% range or are you in the 90% range?
You mean my entire active working life, or? I can be very involved, but there are any number of limitations on my involvement. Family activities, and my usual responsibilities with respect to, my township responsibilities. So, but I'm willing to put in some time. I'm currently between overwhelming projects. So,
So would it be safe to say you would be our go-to person working with staff? Yeah, and Nancy's interested. Or do you want to think about that?
well, I guess I really want to know what that means before saying yes. Okay.
I think it'd be a nice idea for those who are interested in talking about it to get together.
Yeah,
And
no, I mean,
I'd be the board.
before I say I'm going to do something, I want to know what it is I'm saying
Right.
I'm going to
Just
do.
for a meeting.
I'm not trying, right now, what you're asking me is a little too amorphous in my mind for me to,
No, I understand, but at some point we need to define who the go-to
Yeah.
person's going to be.
right.
It's going to be you or someone on your committee or you and me or you and Melissa.
Right,
I just want to be able to define that at some point.
sure.
So
I'd
we'll
be happy to be part of that discussion for
work to
start.
set up a meeting
Yeah.
to get
We
started.
have agreement. Yes, let's get together.
So-
But I have a question
Let's-
before we
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that.
Cost is important. So this is just a meeting to talk about it. Like, we're not
Right.
agreeing anything, so I don't want to scare anybody. So Paul, you said you would help. Nancy, you're very interested. Staff would be part of that, right? And Dawn, I know you're busy. I just wanted, is something you want to be part of the discussion to discuss?
I do You know, yes.
You're two board members, no more than two, and then we have staff
Right,
and Paul. And then you just talk. And then quickly, because we're running out of time, and then
yeah.
and then come back to us. However, we have a workshop meeting, in March, which is a couple weeks. So we could bring it there continue the conversation there if you want to.
That would be,
A quick question. We're talking about a fall festival, not a 250.
No, we're not talking about, we don't know.
Okay.
We don't know what it is.
Because my question was, there was a woman from the county that was here quite a ways back. We haven't heard back from her, right? Are we gonna
So-
participate with that, or I don't know?
When she came, I think the agreement was that if we did anything, it would be focusing on agriculture as far as the 250 was concerned, and that we would try to incorporate it into a fall festival or smaller event here in Franklin. Yeah.
So just to speak a little bit to that, you're talking about Heather Reifer, I'm not sure how she pronounces her name. So I was at a kickoff for what did they call it? Dare to Declare event. It's an event in which the Declaration of Independence is publicly read. And one of the, so that's one activity, for example, that could be part of an event, could be created in such a way that various members of the community have a section of the Declaration that they read, and trying to bring in a range of different people, professions, and ages to do that. And that could simply be, if you were doing this at a fall festival, an event at the fall festival during the fall festival, for example. One of the things that for a township like ours that is unlikely to have marching bands and an overwhelming fireworks display to offer to the public is to stay away from the 4th of July for community celebration, because so many other places will be offering things that will be much more attractive. So to choose a different time and place, which is why, to my mind, if we do a falls festival or something smaller, doing it at an off time when community members can readily attend is a good thing. And so there is some grant money that's available in what's called micro grants from America 250 that can be used to underwrite certain aspects. But in order to get that money, we have to act sooner rather than later.
We have to.
Yeah. So that's another reason for discussing this now.
Do you know if the micro grants have a time frame, a time commitment?
Yes, they do.
Not for filing for the grant, but I mean for using the money.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
It would be within the year as well.
Yeah,
So
but
we can do it
wouldn't
any time this year or
Yeah, it would be
whatever.
within the year. And the calendar of events that they talk about ranges from now all the way till the end of the year. It's not strictly 4th of July focused. Okay.
Thanks, Paul. We appreciate it.
Well, all right, next up is Mark Zawada for the FSA update.
All right. The 25-26 deer season is over. We had a very good year. We had 17 deer harvested, 15 antlerless deer and 2 antlered, 1 from Bamshire, 6 from White Clay Crescent, 8 doe and 2 buck from Franklin. So that's like tie for the second best year we've had. Community service hours were at 170. We didn't get much done with the snow and what's been going on, but when the weather breaks, we'll be cranking again. We also had 8 FSA members volunteer for the Franklin Township Emergency Management Plan. In addition, 1 member's spouse who's an RN also volunteered. Yes.
Not twisted her arm.
Yeah. So I wanted to thank the board for letting us have this season, and we had a very good season. There were 0 safety incidents. This was our 15th year that we've done it, and in that time we've taken 205 deer. So that's about it.
Thank you. Thank you for your community service too. We really appreciate it.
Mark, I'd like to make a big statement at this point because I think people don't understand. I want Jim's help on this. When we talk about the trails, a lot of the angst we have had in the past is that the recognition of the FSA has not been recognized enough about taking care of our trails. We do have an active trail group. We have Matt, we have Chris, led by Jeff. We have multiple FSA members that come, and you see right on here, they clean out the trees, they do so to misinterpret the fact that we don't have a trail group, an active working trail group that's working right now. I just want to appreciate you guys for doing that and helping us out. And thank you for my beautiful signs and all the work you've done. So I can't tell you how much I really appreciate all your extra time that you put into everything.
Thank you.
Thanks for mentioning it, Dawn.
Yeah.
Well, with this being the end of February, I'm beside myself with thinking I have one more month before it's go time, you know? So I'm trying to go in quick order, not to belabor anything, but starting next week, the Master Gardeners, Emmy gets back from wherever she is around the world. And so we have a meeting set up for next week for the Master Gardener 3-part program. Then I have a meeting, I meet with David Payne the 1st of March, the first week in March, to get all the dates of story time, Star Search. I have it all written down. Yes, Star Search, all the things we're working on with the library. Jeff talked to John Arabach today, and we are interested in doing another cleanup. We do that usually around April, May. John's in, he's all ready to work on that.
That's correct. And it kind of came together very well. Jose Sebastro, who owns what was Chisel Creek Golf Course, one of his children called me and left a very nice message. I passed that along to Stacy to coordinate with his child to have them come out and help during that event. But seems like, she and the other people will be great to work with.
So that's very exciting again. We can have that done. And the Boy Scouts, I had a family emergency and missed the Boy Scout meeting, but we have Joey coming up to do the bat boxes in the spring. And now you can tell us a little bit about the bridge project.
Yes, we have a young man who will be coming to our March Board of Supervisors meeting. And he would like to do the Franklin Preserve Bridge, which had been planned to be done last year. So we had a nice conversation with the scout, his father, Matt Thompson, Chris Consorto, and Bob Magnus. So we do have an approved plan in place that was looked at and signed off by our zoning officer. So the young scout will be coming to the next meeting, giving his presentation. He'll have his paperwork. And he has his marching orders from that meeting about what is he doing to raise money?
Yeah.
How is he going to manage it? And be able to answer your questions. So he seems like, yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Question, so there'll be 2 scouts reporting in March, is that right?
The bat boxes, go ahead, Dawn. You
Yeah.
talk-
Yeah, we have Joey. Well, Joey hasn't given us a timeline, but he's going to do it in the spring. So I know. So he's coming up in the spring, and then we have 2 scout projects so far. But I know we have some young scouts in the pipeline. So we've got some lists I have working on projects we'll bring to the board and see if they get approved next time we get a scout.
Yeah. And I've talked to, I haven't met him yet, but very fond of Mr. Blom. We've talked on the phone several times. He has 2 or 3 children. I'll call it in the pipeline to do work. So I'm personally excited to work with him just through the phone calls that we've had.
And yeah, Joey's troop has a bunch of kids coming up too. So we've always had them on the hook. So then Ruth Ann is the one that I'm talking to about the Indian program and her ideas for that. And then I want to get hold of Shane and do another, rain garden program over here. And then I'll just suffice it to say, then the garden's going to start
Yes, ma'am.
exploding. And I'll be back with you with all those newsy notes at a next time.
Okay, so Big Elk Creek. Last week, DCNR did actually unveil their final master plan for Big Elk Creek State Park. It is mostly what we expected. However, there are some issues in the final master plan, some of which I feel are actual safety hazards at this point. On their maps that show existing site infrastructure and proposed infrastructure, they repeatedly mislabel trails that are in Franklin Township as belonging to Chester County. They have also done the same with Peacedale Preserves trails. And then they've inaccurately depicted some of our trails, so they're not mapped properly. One of the major problems that I think is a very big safety hazard is they have marked multiple roads in Franklin Township that are owned by Franklin Township as actually being Chester County trails, and they're roads that we drive on. So we're talking Walker Road, Bullock Road, Hidden Fox Drive, Franklin Road. Like they're very narrow roads, and they've marked them on the map as Chester County trails. So that's a liability issue for us.
In addition to that, didn't we ask them not to put our regular trails on the map too?
We did. So this was another argument. We asked them not to put our maps, our trails on their maps. They did put Mont Olivet on the map without mentioning that it's owned by Franklin Township, so it looks like it is part of the park. They also took Mont Olivet and Spring Lawn, which is owned by Elk, and made multiple points of connectivity with those trails without talking to the townships first, and went so far as to actually completely reroute the south end of Mount Olivet Trail, again, without discussing any of these options with the township, and put that out on their proposed infrastructure map. Again, no mention that Mount Olivet belongs to Franklin Township, so that's a major issue. They also, aside from just concerns on the actual physical maps, they had stated in emails to task force members and in task force meetings that they will work with the townships every step of the way going forward, but that is absolutely not represented in the master plan in any way, shape, or form. The visitor center that they've decided they want to build a small, quote unquote, visitor center. Their small visitor centers are around 2,400 square feet. This visitor center that they're proposing is 4,500 square feet. On top of that, they would also have a 2,400 square foot maintenance facility. Part of the problem with this visitor center is it would include bathrooms for the public that would be accessible even when the visitor center is closed, which is fine if they stuck with the pit latrine design that we discussed and agreed upon in the task force meetings. However, that's not the case. So now they're discussing sewage treatment facility with spray fields and drip irrigation because the entirety of the park is not suitable for septic.
This is not a minor thing. It's Lexington Point in your.
Sure, you can bring the maps up if you want. And well, so, right. So Jeff actually has the maps here. So this is one of the other issues that we were discussing. So this is one of the two concepts that they came up with for where they would put the visitor center and maintenance facility. So the road there is Strickersville Road, but if you look to the right, there's a bus lay-by at the top of a blind hill. So they want to put buses parking there. That's a serious safety hazard for us. Not to mention in the winter, where's all the snow going to go when PennDOT plows? Sure.
And the Amish buggies.
And the Amish buggies. So this is part of our concerns. One of the other concerns we did have regarding the Amish is some of the day use areas that they've proposed butt up right against the Amish farms property lines. So I don't think our Amish neighbors would necessarily appreciate that. They also state, again, after multiple task force members asked them to remove it, the features and elements shown on the master plan include, but are not limited to, the following items. So by putting are not limited to, that gives them the wiggle room to come in when they're ready and put the campground back on the table. Right. So preserve status, that was another big thing that we've been fighting for. Preserve status was given exactly one paragraph in the 100-page master plan. And their answer to an awful lot of discussion and pressure from the task force is that though not a component of the physical planning of the park, a majority of task force members felt strongly about the name of the property. A significant portion of several task force meetings included discussions of the merit of Big Elk Creek Preserve versus Big Elk Creek State Park. Most task force members took the position to include the word preserve within the official name of the property. In the discussion for inclusion of the word preserve in Big Elk Creek's name, management and stewardship would be congruent with White Clay Creek Preserve. DCNR has taken into consideration use of the word preserve in the final state park name, which will be designated following the completion of the recently initiated Cultural Resources Management Plan. So they're still not going to, and this was an argument that the task force members had, they could designate it a preserve now and not wait to change the name. They could still change the name to whatever they want it to be at the end of their cultural resource management plan, but they could designate it preserve status now, and they're still refusing to do so. They also agreed in our final task force meetings, DCNR asked task force members to send them our comments on the master plan after they sent us a copy to review, and that those comments from task force members would be included at the end of the master planning document so that they were there for the public to see. DCNR did not include our task force member notes or comments and also didn't incorporate them into the plan as was previously agreed upon. So those are just a handful of the issues in the 100-page document. What I would like us to do as a township is write a letter to start off with. Maybe, I don't know if we need to involve Guy in this, because the safety concerns, marking those roads as trails is incredibly important that it's addressed. Yeah. I mean, we can't have people coming from out of state or from out of the area saying, oh, look, DCNR has identified this as a trail. I'm going to park my car on the side of the road and I'm going to take a stroll.
Did they do it because that's the connection between one trail to another?
It's not, no. So here's the map. If you look at this map, and this is the other thing, their maps are inconsistent. So they change the colors of the different trails as you go through the process. So at the top of the map, you see the pink lines outside of the park.
Yeah.
Those are roads. So you can see where Walker Road's 90-degree bend is, and they're indicating that as a trail. You can see off to the one side on the left, that kind of like half of a box. Those are more Franklin Township roads. And then they have Peacedale Preserve smacked in the middle of that.
Right.
And you can see again, they've got Mount Olivet listed as a road, but not as a township-owned property.
It's a trail, right?
And it's considered Mount Olivet Trail it's been renamed a trail, but it's still a road on their map.
Right, and they still have Franklin Road and Trail as
Yes.
a county-owned trail, which it is not.
Correct, exactly. So that whole top half of the map that they're calling county is actually not county at all.
So it makes sense that we would respond as a township to this, right?
I would like
these,
us
for these.
Do you want to jump in, Eileen? So can you? Eileen was the other member for Franklin on our task force, just for those who don't know.
Yes, I do. Okay, Eileen Butler, East Nottingham Township. So I actually, and you had also said that they did the same thing in Elk, also with regards to Spring Lawn.
So they do mention that Spring Lawn in the very beginning of the master plan, they do mention that Spring Lawn is Elk Township's Spring Lawn Trail, but that's like one little blurb at the very beginning, and then they suck it into the rest of the park. And it turns into part of the park with the connectivity and all of that as well. And they actually have one trail that connects Spring Lawn to Mount Olivet. And Elk Township had the same concerns we did and had told them not to do that. And that under no circumstances were they to connect any trails to their Spring Lawn Trail without discussion from the township.
So I bring that up because anything that Franklin does, I would hope that you do that in concert with Elk also. And then Jeff, can you go to there was two plans for the
visitor center?
Yeah.
Okay, so
one was more egregious than the other.
Yeah, so this one is the first one. This is
You have to pull back so you can kind
Yeah.
of see it in
So
context.
this was the first concept. It keeps the maintenance facility and the visitor center up close to the road, which environmentally, aside from the bus lay-by, environmentally, this is the safer plan because you're staying in less sensitive areas and an area that was previously developed.
So if they took that
Um,
bus lay-by away,
if
it
they-
would be a
it-
better.
It would be. So it's still very
Oh,
large.
I don't
You
want it at all. Let me be clear.
And honestly, most of the task force, there was a good percentage of the task force that agreed that this didn't need to exist at all. Because if they continued to keep it a preserve, it would be part of White Clay. White Clay already has a visitor center. And they could put, kiosks or whatever. And that was when we discussed having small buildings that were pit latrines that would just be pumped out and not need additional infrastructure in the park.
And then
Um,
there's another one that is
And then the second concept, the option is to take it way down off of Strickersville.
much further back.
It's
and-
behind the shrub line, way down the hill. It's much closer to the wetlands. And you have to remember, with all of this next to the visitor center, now will need to be some sort of sewer treatment plant
Right.
and a drip irrigation and spray field. So in this area, you're very close to the wetlands. You're very close to an awful lot of, you're actually inside of the natural heritage.
Well, the whole
groups.
thing is.
The whole thing is, but this is much closer and much more sensitive area that they're talking about building onto.
In fact, during the meetings, I remember them saying to us, "You sure you want to be over on this side in Franklin instead of in Elk? Because, it's all pink over there." Like all of a sudden they cared. But
But it's all pink and elk too, which was the other problem.
some areas were not.
Correct.
And so that's where they wanted to go, I think personally. But also to say that they want to hold off on the naming it until the cultural assessment is done is disingenuous, because
Yes.
what does that have to do at all? No offense to cultural. Sorry, he's probably going, I can't stand that woman.
No.
But-
It doesn't have anything to do with preserve status versus state park status. It really doesn't.
Yeah, it's the natural heritage side.
Exactly. It's
I
just,
did say heritage, so there you go. I'm wrong, Paul. I'm sorry.
it's just it's
It's a delay tactic
It
for
is.
them to say nothing.
right.
So, yeah. I think I would strongly encourage the township to say something because, to your points about the legality of it and the safety of it, but also to the integrity of the effort, which was disingenuous from the start. Thank you.
So Antia, will you take that on? Will you draft something or sketch something out or?
So I do have a question, Guy. Do we need to do this? I don't know the legal ramifications given the roads versus trail situation. So I don't know if we need to have some sort of something worked up with you as well, or.
I'm happy to contribute as a courtesy to whatever letter the board wants to write in this regard. So why don't you and I chat? You obviously have expertise in this area, and I'll lend my word processor to whatever makes sense for the board. So if you wanted to give me a call tomorrow or shoot me an email when you might be available, you and I can chat about the next steps. And I think I'm looking at the board and I think they're okay with that plan. So why don't we do that?
That's great. Thank you very much. Because I just
You're
want to
wel-
make sure, liability wise, if somebody were to get hurt walking on those roads, I worry about the townships.
Sure. My first piece of advice is always to get a hold of your insurance broker. Make sure there's some protection there, but you and I can chat about all of that.
Guy and the board, thank goodness, the state owns Appleton and Strickersville Road. We do not. And I would never encourage the board to take over those roads as our own. So that really needs to be looked at from a safety standpoint for buses turning around. PennDOT does forget about those two roads at times. When we get bad storms, they will take trucks and go up on Route 10. They'll let this go, and then they have to bring a big grader down to work on it. And again, kudos to Jim DeRazio and his crew. We have had to to plow those roads at certain times for medical emergencies. We're always happy to do that. But the thing is, the state police call us because they know it'll get done. And we're happy to do that.
Any comments, any other comments from the board? Your letter will include something about this wastewater treatment.
Yeah, who's gonna own that? Manage that?
DCNR would own it. It would all be DCNR's property, so it would be their problem. But,
Hold on.
I have another.
oh, go ahead, Eileen.
Do they want Lexington Point?
Well, and that's what it's,
I'm sorry, what?
go ahead.
So I work for the Department of Natural Resources and Environmental Control in the state of Delaware. And I'm very familiar with per and polyfluoral alkyl substances, PFAS. And a great way to get it into your groundwater is through drip irrigation, wastewater treatment. So that's a major concern, especially if a lot of people have wells and drink from it. So that's a big concern. And quite honestly, I'm a little concerned about that other place that you're going to take over, because now that's going to be a problem you're going to have to possibly deal with in the future. I'm just letting you know. You should have money for that in your agreement, Guy. You should have money for that, because you're going to have to filter that stuff out, and it costs a ton for those carbon filters.
So I'm confused. So if we manage it right now, it's all monitored for nitrogen and the.
You have to manage it and monitor it for PFAS. Per and polyfluoral alkyl substances. The people in wastewater industry know about it, but it is.
We'll talk to Stan, because that's not one of our parameters that I'm aware of. But
It
maybe
should
yeah,
be.
Okay, all right.
I can help you.
Okay. Do you have my email? Could you just send me what we're supposed to be monitoring for?
Oh, you're hysterical. It's not an easy thing like that, but yes, I can send some information to you.
Yeah, just what it is, what the word is.
There's 14,000 different substances that make up per and polyfluoral alkyl substances. Thank you, DuPont.
Yeah, I just need, no, just the term. I just want the term, and I can share that with Stan.
Oh, so, okay. I'm sorry.
Well, and shouldn't the cost of operating that, I mean, they had to buy a carbon filter before, right?
Well,
So that should be included in,
different.
Oh.
It's not just a regular.
So they don't
it's a
have-
whole- No.
No,
they
I'm
don't
sure.
have what they should have.
Yes, we shouldn't get upset yet, but we just need to check.
Yes.
But to answer your question, DCNR would own the wastewater treatment. However, wastewater treatment was never brought up in any of the task force meetings. The entire time we talked about restroom facilities and things of that nature, it was always pit latrines that would be pumped out. There was never mention of wastewater treatment at all. And if you look at the maps, because they did have an engineering firm that went out and did all the mapping for septic, the entire map is red, considering that it's completely inappropriate for a septic system.
And plus there's more ground that's gonna have to be disturbed. They talked about the small this and small
Well,
that.
right, and that's the other thing. Their quote unquote small percentage of the park that they're disturbing does not include a wastewater treatment facility.
This is not mine.
And it doesn't include the drip irrigation or the spray fields. So there's a lot more going on than what they are talking about in that master plan. And I think they put the information about the sewage treatment and everything at the very end of the report. It's an appendix to the report. So people that are reading it may just glance over it because they don't want to read all the charts and the maps. It is, so they did bury it at the back of the 100-page report.
Here's your table.
Well, that's the table, but there's also a map of the facility.
The red is where it's not, you can't do this.
No perk.
There's no perk.
So there's no, and there's only just a little bit of green.
Yeah, and those little bits of green, when you look on their map, the only areas that do have potential to perk are literally completely like little teeny tiny slivers around people's private property. So it's not areas where they could actually put anything in place anyway, because it would be right on the property lines.
Just like, did they think this through?
No.
The good news is they have zero funding right now, so you're at least 3 years out to any shovels hitting the ground for anything, from trails to parking lots to anything. They don't even have a design. So we have to keep in mind that this master plan is a guideline. It's not the final. So there's still room to work with them. And I'm going to hold them to task when they said they were going to work with the townships from the very beginning of planning through implementation. If I see that they're not doing it, it's going to be a problem.
But that was through the organization you were gonna.
Well, no, they agreed at the end of the task force meetings and in our emails that from the moment there are plans being made, they would be coming to the township to discuss them. And if they're not doing that, then we need to make sure as a board that we hold them to task, because they can't come in and decide that they're going to unilaterally do whatever they want without abiding by our ordinances and everything. Because from the very beginning, they've not been able to show me where it says that they do not have to abide by our ordinances. They can't show me that because it doesn't exist.
Or code.
Or code, right? So, huh?
They're gonna hope.
They do hope we forget. I think that's, yeah. They're playing the long game here, where they hope we feel good about, oh, they're not putting a campground in, so we'll all go to sleep and be quiet about it. But we need to stay very vigilant. We need to stay on top of them. And that's why anytime there's any sort of interaction within the township with DCNR, we need to be aware. I would like to sit in on any meetings that have to do with DCNR, just to make sure we're keeping an eye on things. So.
You don't want to lose sight of the great work you did. Both of you have done. I mean, they're not doing camping right now, overnight camping with buses and big groups. So it's a win, but you got to stay on. And you are. I know you are. Okay, great. All right. So we good? All right. We're going to end up with public comments. So the public comment can include comments on anything attendees may want to share. Commenters must state their name and whether they are township residents or a taxpayer of the township. Okay, go ahead.
Mark Zawada, Franklin Township taxpayer. On the regards to the farming in the reserve, I'm 100% fine with that. My concern is with the hay. If they cut the hay too early, it's really devastating on ground nesting birds and fawns. I've seen it in the preserve before it was big elk. Every time they did it, there'd be 4 or 5 dead fawns, because their only defense is to lay there. So, and ground nesting birds, I've seen turkey nests smashed. Now, he may be fine or whoever, but in case it goes to someone else, I think it should be in the lease that you can't cut till the end of June or whatever the date is. You could talk to a wildlife biologist, but I know around here a lot of wildlife gets crushed with hay. The first cutting. After that, it's fine. But please, somebody look in, make sure that's in there somewhere. Yeah. Yeah, he may know that, but in case.
Any public comments?
Yeah, this is John Auerbach. I've got some comments, historical comments about the fire company. The purpose is to give you a little history so that as you engage this funding issue that's coming up as a second part, you'll have some background. I think because I'm Franklin Township resident and former supervisor, sorry. Because the fire company and the paramedic service costs have come into focus as a result of a large cost increase impacting the 2025 budget and future budgets, I wanted to share some historical perspective about Franklin Township's relationship with West Grove Fire Company and Avondale Fire Company. I'll limit my observations to the periods that I had direct involvement starting in 2012. Starting in 2012, the budget discussions about costs followed a path that was non-adverse, as the costs were reasonable and our budget was able to manage the expense. Starting in 2015, the cost of paramedic service was rising rapidly, and it drew the attention of the 7 municipalities served, that being London, Britain, Franklin, New London, Penn, Londonderry, London Grove, and West Grove Borough. A committee was formed to gather information, study, and develop an understanding of the paramedic service cost structure. And each municipality had a representative on the committee, mostly a supervisor from each township. In parallel to that effort, West Grove Fire Company determined that they needed to upgrade the structure and format of their budget as their costs for both paramedic and fire services were rising, and they needed more control. So they engaged the professional services accounting and capital management. It's two separate firms. And you can see how this organizational transition developed into the professional organization that they are today. And kudos to West Grove Fire Company for recognizing that back in 2015. Incidentally, their budget at that time was slightly under $1.5 million. The committee and West Grove Fire Company met regularly to work on the paramedic cost issue and West Grove Fire Company's need to improve their budget and cost management. Related to the paramedic costs, it was determined that the consumption of this service varied widely by municipality based on their constituent character, with one township using more than 50% of the total annual service costs from West Grove. The cost at that time, the cost for each municipality was calculated using a proportion of a municipality's assessed value versus the total assessed value of the 7 municipalities. This calculation produced a fraction which was multiplied by West Grove's annual cost and provided an actual cost for each municipality. So many of the smaller municipalities wanted a proportion formula that accounted for some of the actual use of service as a component of the allocation formula. And a 2-component formula was proposed using the following factors. And one was the assessed value of property, which is a matter of record in the county, and then a service use factor using the number of service calls consumed in the previous year. And after some significant deliberation, this proposal was rejected, as some municipalities believed the penalty for their use was too strong. So after much deliberation, a 3-component formula was proposed using assessed value, the service factor, as I said before, and a third factor added was population. And the use of population provided a factor that indicated the potential demand for service. The committee agreed with the proposal and adopted paramedic costs, for paramedic costs only. The fire service cost allocation remained with the single formula calculation, the assessed value. The committee determined that the fire service essentially protects property and therefore assessed value of property seemed the appropriate factor. I recently confirmed this with a committee member colleague, a current supervisor in London Grove Township. I know there's some discussion right now that the formula isn't exactly as I've stated, but this is just a historical part of it. This next part will be very short. The second part of discussion related to how future costs will be managed with the total service proposed at $5 million with a growth to $12 million over an unspecified time. The issue will potentially be a longer comment, and therefore I'll postpone it to some other meeting. And just one last thought about the fire companies. And looking back at our past discussion, we have always agreed with West Grove Fire Company's proposals and provided funds requested except for the 2025 budget. And why have we typically agreed with West Grove Fire Company's cost request? The simple reason is trust. West Grove Fire Company has always been transparent and open about the logic behind their funding requests. They provided annual meetings well before our budget preparation and have come directly to township meetings to respond to our inquiries, always providing reasonable and trusting responses. These actions build trust and a feeling of partnership. I've always enjoyed working with this group as they've always come across as an honest and forthright. The last comment is just knowing this history is an important factor in making decisions and sweeping changes that will be required in the near term. That's really the only comment I have.
John, I'll make a comment on your comments. So speaking as Donna D105, not for the board, but they broke that trust, in my opinion, last year. So Guy was here today. He's with the Avondale, so that's fine. But West Grove, in my opinion, has a lot of work to do to gain my trust back, because you don't come in and ask for 58% increase in budget, and then we have never mind. So we'll work with them, but there'll be a lot of questions that all the board members are going to be involved in. And as we said to Guy today, and I know Guy works for Avondale, he can't speak for them. We want to see what their proposal is early on. We don't want something that shows up in December with a take it or leave it. It's going to be, we're going to talk about it. The other side of that for the public, though, is they are going to ask for more money. That's not going to be a surprise for us. And we're going to need more revenue to cover it. So we'll continue to have those conversations. We'll come back in March at another workshop meeting to talk about just some proposals for revenue increases, along with some proposals for grants that will help us defer some of our costs. And this will be a continued conversation that we have, but we can't keep up with, based on where we're at right now with our current revenue, we cannot keep up with what they're asking. Even though it could be a very, very legitimate request, we just need to get more revenue. So I want to be very transparent about that. And I invite the public to come to these workshop meetings and listen to the deliberation and comment. We want to hear you because you're paying it. So, but we don't do this lightly. Anybody else?
John, I have just a question on who was the governing body that agreed to the proposals? Who was that again? I missed it.
It was a committee that was formed to develop a way to allocate costs. And it was mutually agreed among the township boards to provide one supervisor to attend the meetings and develop the cost formula. And once we developed it, it was accepted by everybody.
Right.
Even Penn Township, which was not a big user, to Curtis Mason's credit, he understood the need to allocate costs with some use factor, and he stepped up to the plate and accepted it. So, I mean, at that time, his costs went from $30,000 a year to $110,000 a year. So he understood the issue. How we authorized it, I think it was by consent, and the formula was just developed and we start using it. I understand there's some changes to it now, but I don't know how that developed. I only covered the history tonight.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we good? Okay. It was great. I think this has been a great meeting. We did a lot tonight, and I thank you all for hanging in there with us. Let me make the final motion, I hope. I make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting at 9:24.
Second.
And then Jim seconds it. Any discussion? Anybody want to go longer? All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. All right, great.